Hey everyone, welcome back to Anime Dreams. Today, we're exploring a fanfic twist that's going to make you see Naruto's world in a whole new way. What if Naruko was loved by the Kyūbi? Part 2. Just a heads up, the content here is purely for fun and discussion. I don't own any of the anime footage, and all credit goes to the original creators. So, without further ado, let's dive in. Naruko awoke in the hospital room, the sunlight streaming gently through the blinds. Her conversation with the other her had gone surprisingly well, and a smile crept across her face. She kicked off the blanket and swung her legs over the side of the bed, landing on the cool floor. Pulling on her hospital gown, Naruko walked over to the window. She opened it wide, letting in the crisp night air. A shiver ran down her spine, but she grinned, feeling the thrill of being alive and free. Tonight, she needed to get home and prepare for her next big challenge. Though it had only been a month since her last adventure, she knew she had to grow stronger. She didn't yet know what awaited her, but she was determined to be ready. Naruko tiptoed quietly to the front door of her apartment, hoping to avoid the landlord. She had already paid her rent, but this man had a habit of asking for more. Sliding along the hallway, she headed for the stairs, wishing that tonight luck would finally be on her side. "Where do you think you're going, young lady?" the landlord called, stepping into her path. Naruko looked up, trying not to laugh at his mismatched clothes and comically oversized shoes. The man had a habit of fussing and muttering, but she knew better than to let it bother her. "I'm just heading out for the evening," she said politely, holding her chin high. He frowned and held out a hand. "Rent, please." "I already paid this month," Naruko replied firmly. The man muttered something under his breath but finally waved her through, handing her a small, mysterious purple scroll. "Some pale-looking ninja delivered this for you," he said. "I didn't open it, just thought you should have it." Naruko thanked him, tucking the scroll safely in her pouch. Stepping out into the quiet streets, she felt the excitement in her chest. She scanned the familiar paths, looking for Ichiraku ramen. She couldn't wait for a comforting bowl before tackling the mystery of the scroll. "Hello, Naruko. Long time no see." Tucci greeted warmly, glancing over his shoulder while stirring a pot. "Hi, Tucci. Can I have a large bowl of spicy miso ramen with extra egg, pork, and soy?" Naruko asked, sliding onto a stool at the counter. "Coming right up. Ayame, could you pass me some vegetable oil?" Kyūbi called to his daughter. "Sure thing, Dad," came the cheerful reply from the pantry. Naruko reached into her pouch and pulled out the purple scroll. There was a tiny slit in the parchment, but no matter how she tried, it wouldn't open. Furrowing her brow, she examined it carefully. This was a puzzle, and Naruko loved puzzles. After a few tries, she accidentally pricked her thumb on the scroll. A small drop of blood appeared, and to her surprise, the black flame designs on the scroll transformed into bright red flames and then disappeared entirely. She gasped, realizing the scroll had been sealed with a special blood seal. No wonder it had resisted her efforts. Taking a deep breath, Naruko tried again, this time with care and patience. The scroll finally opened. Inside, neat handwriting gave her directions to Myobabushi Mountain, home of the legendary snake summonings. "So, that's why the scroll came to me," Naruko whispered with determination. "Time to start training and get stronger. I won't let this chance slip by." Her eyes sparkled with excitement. Adventure awaited, and Naruko was ready to leap into it, confident, clever, and full of heart. If Naruko had received this scroll any earlier, she would have tossed it aside without a second thought. But being gently reminded by her landowner that her apartment was too small for all her training gear made her pause. She realized why some people found the village frustrating, but also why it was worth protecting. Today, Naruko didn't want to prove anyone wrong or chase power. She just wanted to get stronger, learn new jutsu, and maybe have some fun along the way. "Here you go, my favorite customer," Kyūbi called cheerfully, handing Naruko a steaming bowl of spicy miso ramen. The aroma immediately made her forget all thoughts of strategy and training for a moment. Behind the counter, Ayame watched, smiling as her father's face lit up every time Naruko appeared. Kyūbi leaned closer and whispered proudly, "And when you finish that, I've got a new ramen recipe for you, on the house. I want to see what you think." Naruko couldn't help but smile at the old man's generosity. She took her first slurp and let the warmth and flavor wash over her. Thoughts of training and exams could wait. For now, it was just ramen. And a moment of happiness. Later, Naruko awoke with a stiff back. Sleeping on the soft grass in the park hadn't been quite as comfortable as she imagined. Pushing against her lower back, she heard a little crack as she stretched. Groaning, she got to her feet, adjusted her headband, and sprinted toward the Hokage's office. Knock knock. Come in, called the third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen. Naruko's grin spread wide. Good morning, Oyaji. I just wanted to let you know I'm heading out of Konoha for some training. The Hokage looked up from his papers, raising an eyebrow. Training? Where exactly? Naruko hesitated, then smiled nervously. I thought I'd try Myobabushi Mountain. I heard it's perfect for practicing stamina and jutsu. Hiruzen hummed thoughtfully. Very well. You may leave for 1 month. But only 1 month, understood? Yes, sir, Naruko said cheerfully, grateful she could make her own plans. She almost forgot one thing. Oh. Could you ask Kakashi-sensei to train me a little before I go? Hiruzen's face dropped slightly. He's up on the mountains training Sasuke-kun. Sakura. Well, she's not continuing right now. Naruko blinked in surprise. Wait. Just one student? Isn't that a bit unfair? She could train too. Naruko, Hiruzen said softly, sometimes we have to focus on different things. You'll understand as you grow. Realizing she'd been a bit pushy, Naruko grinned sheepishly. Sorry, Oyaji. I'll behave. I'll make sure to train really hard at Myobabushi Mountain and make you proud. With that, she dashed out the door. The streets of Konoha were quiet in the early morning light. Naruko's mind buzzed with excitement. Who would her next opponent be? What new jutsu could she master? The possibilities felt endless. She sprinted past the Chonin gatekeepers, leaving a small note explaining her month-long absence. Kotetsu and Izumo watched her streak past, shaking their heads. She really is unstoppable, Izumo said quietly. Unstoppable? She's got no chance of keeping up with Sasuke, Kotetsu replied. Maybe not, Izumo said, but you never know. Naruko might surprise everyone yet. And with that thought, Naruko raced toward the mountains, her determination burning brighter than the morning sun. Izumo gave a small sigh and slid the document neatly into the desk drawer. Well, I suppose you're right, he said gently. She really has a tough road ahead. The third Hokage rested his chin on his folded hands, eyes thoughtful as he considered the young ninja they had just discussed. Naruko Uzumaki was brave, determined, and still learning what her own strength truly meant. A soft breeze passed through the office as several masked guardians appeared quietly, standing in a respectful line. Their leader stepped forward. You called for us, Hokage-sama? Yes, the Hokage replied calmly. Naruko will be traveling to Mount Myoko for training. Your task is to watch over her from a distance and ensure her safety. Do not interfere unless truly necessary, and do not let her know you are there. Please send regular updates. That is all. We understand, the leader said, and the group departed as quietly as they had arrived. The Hokage returned to his work, a warm but worried thought crossing his mind. Be safe, Naruko, he hoped. Sakura Haruno walked home under the evening sky, her steps slow and thoughtful. She had hoped to see Naruko one more time before she left the village, but it seemed her teammate had already begun her journey. Sakura didn't fully understand why Naruko had been on her mind so much lately. Perhaps it was Naruko's kindness. Or her courage. Or the way she always smiled, even when things were difficult. Naruko had grown up without parents, yet she never stopped believing in herself or others. Sakura tried to imagine what that must feel like and found she couldn't. The realization made her heart feel heavy. By the time Sakura reached home, the lights were on. Inside, her younger sister Bara sat on the couch, surrounded by open books as she studied for her academy exam. Bara looked up and grinned. So, she said teasingly, how's your favorite teammate doing, Wani-san? Sakura sighed. Naruko is not my favorite. She's just my teammate. Bara giggled. Then why do you talk about her so much? Sakura paused, then answered honestly. Because she's important to me. Bara's smile softened. She seemed really kind when I met her. Strong, too. Sakura nodded. She is. Their mother stepped into the room, her presence calm and reassuring. Sounds like you're both talking about someone special, she said warmly. Sakura and Bara exchanged shy looks, then laughed together. Whatever challenges lay ahead for Naruko, one thing was certain, she was not alone. She had people who believed in her, cared about her, and were quietly cheering her on every step of the way. And that belief, more than anything, would help her grow. They had both said it at the exact same time, but the only thing Yuki could hear was the resonance of that girl's name, Uzumaki Naruko. How dare her daughter even utter that name? Haruno Bara. Go to your room right now. Yuki's voice boomed, startling the two girls who were kneeling on the floor. What? Why? What did I do? Bara stammered, confused and scared. Before they could react, Bara felt a sharp nudge from her mom's hand. Don't you dare talk back to me, young lady. Now move. Bara gathered her books from the floor, trying hard to hold back her tears. As she passed by her mom, she whispered, I hate you. Downstairs, Sakura and her friend exchanged worried glances. The thunderous slam of Bara's bedroom door made Yuki sigh. I can't believe she'd even say that name in my house, she muttered under her breath. Sakura shook off her shock, still trying to process what had just happened. Her mom had acted so harsh, and she didn't understand why. Mom, she asked cautiously, what's so bad about saying Naruko's name? Watch your mouth, Sakura-chan, Yuki warned. You'll be the next one in your room if you're not careful. But why is Naruko? I mean, why is she so different? Sakura pressed on. Yuki's expression softened, though she still spoke with caution. It's against the third's law, she explained. And one more thing. I know you've been visiting her at the hospital because she's your teammate, but remember this, she's dealing with a lot of things you might not understand yet. Be kind, but also careful. People sometimes act differently than we expect. You'll learn more by watching her than by judging her. Sakura nodded, thinking deeply. Naruko dangerous? That didn't sound right at all. She knew Naruko wouldn't hurt her friends. But a small voice in her heart whispered, what if there's more to her than meets the eye? Elsewhere, deep in the forest, Naruko looked around in frustration. Where am I supposed to be? She shouted, her voice echoing through the endless green. She was perched on a tall tree, eyes scanning for the mountain marked on her training scroll. I followed the instructions exactly, but I don't see anything. Excuse me, young lady, could you mean Mount Myobabushi? A mysterious voice called from below. Naruko leapt down, landing gracefully beside a hooded figure pushing a small cart. The only part of the man visible was his pale face under the hood. Yeah, but how did you know? Naruko asked, curious. Because it's the only mountain nearby with that name, the man explained, rummaging through his cart. Oh, so it's close, Naruko said excitedly. Not exactly, the man said, shaking his head. You still have quite a journey ahead of you. Naruko frowned. But you just said it was the closest mountain. I never said it was easy, the man replied with a gentle smile. Finally, he pulled out a large purple scroll and placed it on the ground with a soft thud. It was enormous, 3 times the size of any scroll Naruko had ever seen. The man knelt down, unrolling the scroll. Rows of names filled the page, with one empty space at the end. Draw a little blood and sign here, he said, pointing to the blank spot. Naruko tilted her head, unsure. Why would I do that? This is the shortcut to Myobabushi, the man explained. It'll take just a moment if you follow the instructions. Naruko's eyes sparkled with excitement. Finally. I don't want to waste a second. She pricked her thumb gently, letting a small drop of blood fall onto the scroll. Carefully, she wrote her name, Uzumaki, in the blank space. Her throat felt a little dry, but she ignored it, focusing on finishing the task. All done, she said, sliding the scroll back toward the man. Good, he nodded, smiling. Then, with a snap of his fingers, Naruko vanished in a soft puff of smoke. Whoa! What just happened? She thought, reappearing in a completely new place. Naruko's adventure had just begun, and she felt a mix of excitement and curiosity about what she would learn on this next part of her journey. Naruko stirred on the cold stone ground, blinking against the thick mist that seemed to wrap around her like a soft, gray blanket. Ugh! My head! She groaned, trying to sit up. The mist made it hard to see more than a few steps in any direction, and with every breath, her dizziness seemed to grow. She wobbled forward cautiously, her small hands brushing against the slick stone as she adjusted to her surroundings. Suddenly, 2 pairs of feet appeared through the fog. One pair wore purple pants with a white snake pattern curling along the sides, paired with sturdy black boots. The other belonged to someone who had to be a woman, her legs smooth and strong, covered in light lavender fabric that matched her confident posture, and her dark purple shoes gave her a graceful, precise air. The woman crouched down, placing her hands gently on her knees. Is this the one Orochimaru-sama told us about? She asked, her voice curious and light. Naruko blinked, trying to make sense of the situation. The other person remained silent, and the woman tilted her head with a small squeal of excitement. Well, I think he's quite special. Maybe even perfect for our plan. Before Naruko could respond, everything went dark as her head spun and her legs gave out. The last thing she felt was the gentle but firm support of the woman's companion helping her up, careful not to let her fall. Meanwhile, far away in Konoha, the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, was concerned. His trusted ninja had returned from a mission, exhausted and clearly overwhelmed. Hokage-sama. The ninja panted, clutching at his chest. We were following Naruko, as you instructed, but it seems she has signed a special summoning contract with the snakes. She's gone for now, but she'll return for the Chunin exams. And Orochimaru-sama warned us not to interfere with her journey. Hiruzen's heart sank. His former student Orochimaru was clever and mysterious, and this meant Naruko had somehow become involved in something much bigger than herself. But instead of fear, the Hokage felt a spark of hope. Naruko had always been brave, determined, and full of energy, qualities that no challenge could truly defeat. Far away, atop a misty ravine, two powerful figures faced each other. The water below roared like a gentle, echoing drum, cascading down the rocks. Giant statues of Konoha's founding heroes, Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara, stood tall, watching over the river as though silently guarding the world below. One figure with fiery red hair asked calmly, "Do you really think you can surpass me?" The other, eyes glowing with a soft gray light, smiled with quiet confidence. "It's not about comparison. Everyone has their own strengths. I only want to grow stronger and learn from each challenge." The red-haired figure tilted his head, clearly impressed. "Then perhaps we can discover who is truly ready. Together." As the sunlight filtered down through the mist, the two figures stood poised, not to fight in anger, but to test their skills and learn from one another, knowing that true strength came from courage, friendship, and the determination to keep moving forward. Back in the misty forest, Naruko stirred awake, her eyes wide with curiosity. The journey ahead was mysterious, but she felt a bubbling excitement inside her. Adventure awaited, and with her determination and her friends watching over her, she knew that no challenge, no matter how strange or confusing, could stop her. Naruko smiled, brushing herself off. "All right. Let's see what happens next." With that, she stepped forward into the fog, ready to explore a world full of mysteries, magic, and the endless possibility of friendship and growth. Naruko jolted awake, her heart pounding and her body covered in a cold sweat. The dream had been strange, two mysterious warriors clashing with swords and powers beyond anything she'd ever seen, but now she was back in a simple room, with only a mattress and a small nightstand by her side. A tiny lamp rested on the table. Rubbing her eyes, she flicked the switch, wincing as the bright light filled the room. The cold tile floor sent shivers through her toes as she planted her feet and stretched, shaking the sleep from her muscles. Glancing down, Naruko realized she was only wearing a pair of purple boxers with tiny white snake designs, definitely not her own clothes. She hugged herself, trying to stay warm, when a soft creak from the door made her freeze. A woman stepped inside, carrying a clipboard. Her long brown hair fell just below her shoulders, and when she glanced at Naruko, her yellow, snake-like eyes shone softly. "It's good to see you awake," the woman said kindly, returning her attention to the clipboard. Where am I?" Naruko asked nervously, glancing around the unfamiliar room. "You're on Mount Myobabushi," the woman replied as she walked over. "This is home to the snake summons. Please, sit down, I need to give you a small shot first, and then you'll be able to move around safely." Naruko hesitated, but the woman was gentle as she injected the serum. Almost immediately, Naruko felt dizzy, her stomach churning. She rushed to a nearby bucket, feeling the potion work to cleanse her system. "Don't worry," the woman said with a calm smile. "The serum is supposed to flush out the toxins you inhaled from the mist outside the village center. Once it's done, you'll be safe." Naruko took a deep breath, finally standing upright. "Village center? Mist? Toxins?" she muttered, still trying to understand. The woman gave her a small, knowing smile. "This mountain uses mist to protect itself from intruders. Most people can't survive it, but you signed a special agreement recently, didn't you?" Naruko's eyes widened. "Oh. Right. I did sign something," she remembered the hooded figure with the large scroll. "Then that's it," the woman said. "The agreement activated a special ability in you, a temporary protection against toxins. Eventually, it will grow strong enough to make you completely immune. Pretty amazing, isn't it?" Naruko's eyes sparkled with excitement. Wow. That's incredible. The woman nodded, her own smile brightening. Even with the faint scales running down her cheeks, she looked friendly and trustworthy. I'm glad you think so. I'm one of the Hebi, snake, sages. That means I can help protect people like you, and you're in for a special introduction. Come on, we have someone important to meet. Naruko followed as the woman led her through the village, a community of people with scales, unique eyes, and colorful patterns. Despite the high altitude making it hard to breathe, Naruko pushed forward, curious and amazed at everything around her. Finally, they arrived at a dark cavern, carved with snakes that seemed to slither along the edges. The woman stepped aside, gesturing for Naruko to enter. Hello? Is anyone here? Naruko called, her voice echoing softly. Suddenly, the cave rumbled, and candles flickered to life. At the end of the grotto lay a massive purple-scaled snake, its golden eyes glowing in the dim light. Are you Manda? Naruko asked, remembering the name the woman had mentioned. That's Manda-sama to you, young one, the snake said with a deep, gentle rumble. He lowered his massive head closer to Naruko. I like your choice of clothing, snakes, of course. Naruko giggled nervously, feeling both awe and excitement. Despite his size, Manda-sama's voice was warm, almost comforting. She realized then that this was just the beginning of a new adventure, one filled with mystery, courage, and friendship. Clothes? Snakes? Naruko asked, spacing each word carefully as she tried to make sense of the slithering creature before her. Suddenly, she realized just how chilly it was. Looking down, she noticed, well, more like didn't notice, her missing outfit. The only thing she had on was a bright purple underlayer that offered almost no warmth, letting the cold breeze nip at her skin. She shivered, but her mind was more focused on embarrassment than frostbite. Oh no. I just walked through the whole village like this? She whispered, eyes wide, imagining all the surprised faces she might have passed. Guess that's your problem, the snake said, flicking its tongue lazily, then stretched out with a yawn. Anyway, we have more important things to do. Yamada. Yes, Manda-sama? A deep voice replied from the cavern's shadow. Naruko turned, careful not to let the icy wind hit her too hard. Leaning casually against the wall was a tall figure with spiky white hair that brushed her shoulders. Her eyes were golden, and dark lines framed them, giving her a slightly mysterious look. She wore a purple vest over a netted undershirt and baggy dark pants, with sleek black shoes covering her toes completely. That's Orochimaru's apprentice, Manda said with a flick of her head, returning to a relaxed position. So, are we following Orochimaru's orders? Naruko asked, hugging herself, trying to hide how cold and embarrassed she felt. Yamada glanced at her, then shrugged, clearly used to her antics. Yeah, but only because I don't have to do anything, Manda murmured before closing her eyes. Come on, Naruko, Yamada said, gesturing toward the exit. She hesitated, shivering, rubbing her arms. I just don't want the whole village to see me like this, she stammered. They already did, the white-haired apprentice said flatly. Naruko groaned. See, can't you just get some clothes for me? She asked, hope flickering in her eyes. But Yamada only shook her head and gently took her wrist. With a sigh, Naruko was led through the village again, feeling the cold and the curious gazes of the villagers, though this time, she kept her composure and tried to focus on the mission ahead. Finally, Yamada announced, we're here. The building looked small from the outside but was surprisingly spacious inside, filled with rows of ninja supplies. Swords, staffs, and all kinds of unusual tools lined the walls. Behind the counter, a large, friendly-looking blacksmith polished a sword. Naruko noticed his scales glimmered in the light and his purple eyes blinked warmly. Hello. How can I help you today? He asked, setting the sword down. We're here to pick up the customized items Orochimaru ordered, Yamada said. Oh. Orochimaru's apprentice, huh? You're lucky. The blacksmith laughed, disappearing for a moment before returning with a large red box. Here you go. There's a dressing room over there. Naruko hurried to the small room and changed into her new outfit. She looked at her reflection and felt a rush of excitement. Orochimaru had picked a jacket with a high collar, long sleeves, and a striking combination of black and red. Her pants were baggy but comfortable, tucked neatly into black ninja shoes, and a red sash tied at her waist added a fun, adventurous flair. The thick material kept her warm, but it was breathable enough to move freely. She zipped down the collar slightly to reveal a little of her neck and grinned at her reflection. This is perfect. Stepping out, Yamada raised an eyebrow. Ready to face the village now? Naruko nodded enthusiastically. Absolutely. And I'm not embarrassed anymore. Good. Now let's get the rest of Orochimaru's orders, Yamada said, and they moved forward, Naruko feeling proud, confident, and ready for anything. Other gift? Naruko wondered aloud, tugging at the end of her right sleeve to feel the fabric better. The blacksmith returned with another box, slightly bigger than the last one, and placed it carefully on the counter between them. He moved to the side and opened it. The counter was tall, so Naruko had to tiptoe a little to see inside. From the box, the man pulled out 2 small black square pouches with tiny seals on the opposite side of the buttoned openings. He leaned down so Naruko could see them clearly. This, my young ninja, is a pair of custom shuriken holders, the blacksmith explained, handing her the pouches. The seals here connect to whatever you attach them to, and only you can remove them. If anyone else tries, they won't budge. Inside each pouch were 3 seals, each containing a different kind of shuriken. This one, he said, pointing to a 3-pronged shuriken, is made for speed. The 4-pronged shuriken is balanced for both speed and strength. And the 5-pronged one is the strongest, though a little slower. Don't worry about saving them, there are plenty of shuriken within the seals. Naruko's eyes sparkled as she attached the pouches neatly above both sides of her rear, right under the black rope tied around her waist. Next, the blacksmith pulled out a rectangular pouch with slots for 3 6-inch spikes. These are made of special black chakra metal, he explained. Pour your chakra into them, and they can pierce even the toughest obstacles. Strap them over your calves. Only use them when you're sure they'll hit their mark. Naruko crouched on one knee to fasten the straps snugly around her calves, marveling at how seamlessly they lined up with her pants and shoes. It looked like one smooth, protective layer. The man gestured for her to roll up her sleeves and place her arms on the counter. Naruko did so, tugging her sleeves up to her shoulders. He handed her 2 black arm braces with a small piece of faux leather underneath. After fastening both braces to her forearms, Naruko noticed the 3 bent spikes protruding from the outer sides. These are mostly for defense, the blacksmith said. You can fill them with chakra, but they're better for blocking than attacking. Naruko pushed against her new braces, testing their snug fit. Her attention then shifted to the final item, a sword. Your very own Kusanagi sword. The blacksmith announced proudly. Naruko held it carefully. The long, narrow blade was grayish-white, with a black inlay running along the handle and sheath. It was surprisingly light. It may be light, the blacksmith said, noticing her expression, but it's made from the finest metal I have. It can cut through wood like butter, even without chakra. He smiled and picked up another box, tossing it into the air. Naruko twirled forward, her sword slicing the box perfectly in 2. She sheathed her sword and glanced at Yamada, who had been watching silently. Naruko wondered about a strap to carry the sword on her back, then had a bright idea. She slid the sword between the black layers of rope wrapped around her waist. Very resourceful, Naruko, Yamada said, finally breaking his stoic silence. He was the first to notice her clever solution. Thank you, Yamada-san, Naruko replied, beaming. For once, she felt genuinely proud of herself. Yamada held up a hand to pause her. Remember, it's either sensei or Yamada-sensei, kid, he reminded her firmly but kindly. Then he gestured forward. We're here. Naruko looked around, her bright eyes scanning the area. She must have been in a remote place because all she could see was gravel, rocks, and the occasional stubborn bush. Ahead of her, a towering rise of land seemed to reach straight into the clouds. She tilted her head back, craning her neck just to see the very top. Hey, mountain on mountain, she whispered to herself, giggling at her own silly joke. The thought made her shoulders relax a little, even though the climb ahead looked challenging. She turned to her right to ask Yamada something, only to realize he wasn't there. Blinking in surprise, she looked forward, and there he was, a few yards away, standing tall and waiting patiently. Your first challenge, Yamada began, gesturing over his shoulder to the enormous rock formation behind him, is to climb to the top. Naruko raised an eyebrow. And why exactly am I doing that? She asked, trying to hide her curiosity behind a hint of sass. Because in 1 month, Yamada said, pointing toward her with a serious yet encouraging look, I'm going to help you become a heavy sage. Naruko's eyes widened, a mixture of excitement and determination sparkling in them. A heavy sage, huh? Well, that sounds amazing. Guess I better start climbing. With that, she took a deep breath, tightened the straps of her little training pack, and began her journey up the rocky slope. Every step made her heart race, But every careful foothold reminded her that she could do this, one step at a time. Dear YouTube family, this is all for now. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel to join me on more adventures. Thank you for your support. Every view, comment, and share helps our community grow. Warm regards. Anime Dreams.